Dmytro Palniuk, lawyer, and Olena Rozvadovska, lawyer, and Dmytro Karp, activist. Vadym Tymoschuk is given the floor. So, about my brother that was killed in the military unit. He was in a ATO area, he served there full term, and he said that he will be killed. They beat him, and he was in hospital starting from the 5th of April. He didn't go to the military unit, but he went to me, and he said that Vaitenko threatened him, and I told him, let's go together and we will resolve these issues. And on the 5th of he was released from hospital, and then he said, Vadik, I won't go there because they will kill me. And I said, let's resolve this issue. And he said, I want to live. He went to the village with me, and he was there. And on the 27th of May, people from prosecutor's office came, and he brought him to Kiev, to prosecutor's office at about 7 p.m. They took him. And on the 28th of May, he was in emergency service in the Central Military Hospital in the emergency room. And he was in coma, and no one told his parents. And mother called, and when he was in the prosecutor's office, and then communication failed. And on the 3rd of May, his father called to prosecutor's office, and no one could give the answer that he is in the resuscitation unit of neurology department. And they said that they do not have information, and the person who deals with his issues is not there. And we phoned a lawyer, and the lawyer started to address the prosecutor's office, and they called to the military unit, and the commander informed that he was in coma, and he said that he fell while he was and he fell and he hit himself in the bathroom. And on the 30th of May at about 4 p.m. it was informed that he is in coma in hospital, and I went to hospital, and they told me that he is in a very difficult condition in the resuscitation room of neurology department. The doctor said that you can prepare yourself for the burial because percentage is too low that he will survive. And my father came on the 31st of May, and we went to the hospital, and he was still alive. They said that he is still alive. Then it was on the 30th of May, and we came with my father on the 31st of May, but we didn't know whether he was alive. No one showed him to us. And on the 31st he was alive, and then the doctor phoned, and he said that your brother is not alive anymore. And we went on the 1st of June to take his body, and we went to the central hospital, and the doctor said that he is in the morgue of the hospital. And no one showed us the body. Then the journalists came, and they said that the body was brought to the central hospital, and someone informed to the journalist that he was transferred to central morgue right after his death. Then we came to the central morgue, and they said that he was brought at 4 p.m. to the morgue, and the military said that he was shaving and he fell and he hit himself. And other person says that he was going to the canteen and fell and hit his head. So I have so I will show to you so I will show photos to you. So he was recruited. This is the photo when he was recruited. And then they brought him as already dead. There is no eye. His face, his nose is broken. And I don't know whether they had proper forensic examination, but the bones were completely, his nose was completely ruined, and his skull had a hole in the back. And how could he hit himself like this, that his bones were cracked? So I have a picture here that there is foot. There is a print from a foot on the chest. How can he hit himself on the chest with his leg, with his foot? So here is also his the picture of his liver. There is also a print from an impact. So how could he damage himself so hard? I do not know. Maybe the person who carried out forensic examination, maybe he was bribed to present such an information. You can see this on the pictures, the damages he sustained. This investigation should be completed, and those people who are guilty, they should be punished. You see that in these pictures, he was killed, he was tortured, and from Zlopatych to Zlewski, he was in the prosecutor's office, and then he came to the military unit at about noon, and at 11 he was in resuscitation room. So I believe that he was just tortured, and the commander who was responsible for him, he just killed him together with his proxies. Thank you, Vadym, and now I give the floor to Viktor Palniuk, lawyer. Please, you are given the floor. Good afternoon. So, there are many questions to this investigation and to the investigators. The question is why father has to search for his son after the prosecutor's office took him for interview, and why only when the lawyer is involved, they phoned the father and informed that his son is in coma, not when he was delivered to hospital, because relatives should know about this. And investigators, they should establish where he was taken from, and relatives know that he was taken for interrogation, and the representatives of military prosecutor's office, whether they committed it or it was done by people in the military unit if he was brought there. So it should be established by the investigation. And about the fact about this situation. 3 cases are filed, criminal cases. The first one on the request of those person who died about his beatings. The second case is the fact of desertion. This was opened by military unit. The third case is on the address of the father to the prosecutor's office about beatings, and the fourth case, the case on the death of this serviceman Igor. And we prepare appropriate requests that these evidence should be provided, and we will try to establish truth in this matter, because after this incident, other lawyers address me and they tell me about the situation not only in this military unit but in other regions of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you. And now Olena Rozvadovska, lawyer, she is given the floor.
I would like to add that today we consider not only the case of Igor Tymoschuk, this is a case of every killed and beaten to death guy who was defending our country in the circumstances of warfare, when every day 1 or 2 Ukrainian soldiers are killed by the enemy. And at the same time, some guys are also killed in the military units. You can go to and see in internet and social networks, there were 5 cases like this when deputy commander of Chernihiv squadron in Donetsk region, he was just shot the guy, and there was other guy who also was killed, and the military prosecutors, they didn't investigate those cases. What is this? Is it nepotism? What is this? Those people who are intended to defend the country, they go to the military service, they are enlisted, but they are afraid that they will be killed not at the front line but in the military unit. This is not the case of one person, of Igor Tymoschuk. What should be done by the person to injure himself so heavily? I am a professional lawyer, and I saw many corpses, so I could understand that there was the traces of beating. We sent the letter, we submitted the letter to the ombudsman and to the military prosecutor's office and to all other competent agencies. We don't, we will not seek for a person to appoint responsible. The responsibility, the accountability should be in the army, because the person, for example, suffering epilepsy, they should they may not be enlisted to military services. Civil rights activists and human rights advocates should address these issues. Please look into your soldiers. They are those who protect us, protect our houses, and thanks to them, to their defense of us, we can live peaceful life here. We will not allow to close these proceedings. Everyone who hears us, I ask you, when some people come to us in the underground, and when we come to help other soldiers, and we understand that the soldier who needs our help, he is in the hospital, and he is saying that Igor Tymoschuk was an alcohol addict, and he was suffering epilepsy. We tried to defend Ukrainian troops. Thank you, Miss Olena Rozvadovska. My name is Dmytro Karp. I am here because we have been cooperating with civil rights advocates and volunteers in legal cases. In the case of this mobilized person, this is not a single case, and this is a response of military prosecutor's office and militaries themselves. When the mother of this person is saying that a criminal case should be initiated for beating.
Матиос, это фамилия, не ваша.
Very many criminal proceedings have been initiated in the jails in Donetsk and Lugansk region. We know that there are several cases, odious cases, when criminal cases were closed and prosecutors do not fear anything when they have evidences, but they enter into
So we carry out this investigation, and practically this criminal case is nearly closed, and this is a terrible case of discrediting the army by the hands of military prosecutor's office, by deputy military prosecutor's office head, and we cannot respond to this evil. So how about the crimes and falsified cases concerning volunteers, to discredit the volunteers and the volunteer battalions? There is a case of Mr. Babic, deputy head of Azov battalion. It was the murder, and they convinced us that it was suicide at some under some conditions, and they do not want to investigate this case. And this investigation, we do not see investigation Billy and on a killing in the EDU area, a group of Italian and who were killed by some military, and we see falsifications and the close of cases with the participation of the first deputy head of prosecutor's office, Matthews. He presented information on his page, and also there is a threat to the lives of journalists and to our guys, and we want to prevent these threats. So they tried to threaten me, threaten my friends when we dealt with the 51st Brigade, and also there were threats from Matthias towards us. So we want to prevent these threats, and we are ready to join the process. And if there should be that these facts, they're falsified, you shouldn't be a great expert. You can just see these photos from the morgue, and you can see that this examination of the body was falsified. And Matthias on Facebook, he says that everything is okay, and this is not the killing of a person, and this is not heavy bodily harm. This is absurd, and I would like to draw attention of Yuri Lutsenko that this person should be fired from the prosecutor's office who discredit the army and discredit investigation as it is in the General Prosecutor's Office. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Dmitry. Thank you, dear colleagues. Now, there's time for some questions or comments. Please introduce yourself first. Sergei Vakula, informant. The first question to the brother of the deceased. In many TV programs, you told that the commander said something that he nicknamed you and your brother as an Olen, dear. I came to the hospital and the doctor said that your brother may die, and I called Commander Vaitenka, he is a major, I believe, and I said, what happened? How could he fall so hard? And senior sister in the hospital, he said that he had sustained bodily harm. So he said that my brother shaved and hit himself. Could a person fall like that? I said, are you some sort of an animal? And he said, oh, I will find you. You are such a stupid person like your brother. Some insults, he said. So he didn't cover properly that they killed him, actually. Is it true that Vaitenka is a son of the head of this military unit, that his relatives are top officials in the military forces? Is this correct? Sergei, I will tell, we know a lot of facts, but now there is preliminary actions, so we cannot provide this information to the press because we know that each our action will be met with counteraction. And we spoke with many guys, and we won't tell you their names because they serve, and we will try to, by all legal means, to bring the situation out in the spotlight in order to see the situation and to show what is going on in the military units. So these rules, they are present in all the military units. Thank you, Olena. Do you have other questions, please? Ekaterina, Automaidan movement. There is a version of the events. I'm a doctor myself about epilepsy. Was he diagnosed with epilepsy? And how would it happen that he was mobilized in such a case? By order of the Minister of Defense, internal police came, they investigated, they took evidence from our village doctor, and they asked about the diagnosis of epilepsy. He was 33 years of age, he didn't have epilepsy, everything was okay before he went to army. Everything was okay with him, and after he served, he had, when on the 27th, on the 28th, there was a condition, epilepsy condition. Maybe it was before, I don't know. You should ask in the military unit he served. Before, he didn't have such a problem. And he told that he had some conflicts with his commander. He wanted to, he had a holiday, and in order to go on holiday, he had to pay his commander and to bring a bottle of cognac. Without it, they didn't leave him. So he couldn't serve. He should, in order to serve in the armed forces and in order not to have problems, he had to give money. If he didn't pay, so they took this money. He only got some 40 hryvnias or something like that. And also he said about the fuel when he went to the ATO area. He said they just stole fuel, and some fuel tanks came and they just took this fuel away, and they just written off this fuel. So this is corruption. Maybe they killed him to keep him silent about this. Thank you, Vadim. Do you have other questions or comments?
I would like to add here we have representatives of the ministry. For the minister Paltarak and the general staff for Mr. Mushenko, this is the case of honor to stop any harassment in the military units, because otherwise we can't build potential of our army, which will be able to defend our country and also to be a member of some alliance or bloc. So we should put an end to any violent relations in military units between commanders and subordinates. I have an addition. For 2 years as a volunteer, I have been consulting ATO commanders and soldiers, and I found that where a commander is good, all things are done in a good way, and where commanders promote some criminal actions from those military units, there are many petitions to civil rights advocates, and such actions of those criminal commanders, they spoil image of Ukrainian army, the reputation of our army, and this damage of image. This is what for we try to change the situation. When I was here at the entrance, when Vadym Tymoschuk, he said that he can only comment. When I was the only one of lawyers who came to the hospital, and I asked Victor to engage to this initiative, journalists called by phone to Vladislav Seleznov, asking him to get a permit to get comment from the doctor, from the hospital. If it is possible, I would like to find out why for journalists to get a comment from the head of the hospital when parents arrive to find out the truth, maybe the deputy head of the hospital or press office of the hospital, why journalists need permits, why journalists need to go to the speaker or the general staff of presidential administration. Vladislav Seleznov, telephone number of Vladimir Seleznov is not available to everyone. This is not such an emergency service as 911. Thank you. Can you give us a comment, Mr. Seleznov? Good afternoon, colleagues. Here in this room, representatives of the brigade and the representatives of those investigators. They are also present here. I don't have powers to provide permits to work in the military hospitals of the Ministry of Defense. So please address the press office. This is their competence. As concerns the comments which I gave you on the first day of this tragedy. We didn't hide this case. I had information from the headquarters and from the officers of the brigade who are here now in this room, from the officers who serve in the main communications service. This information is available in the public space. As concern my telephone number, this is not a problem. Very important thing that I am blamed that I didn't allow to work in the front line military units, but I'm not a person who can give such permits. This is not my competence. Thank you. Then why the hospital the hospital leaders, they told us to address you? Why? And the second question, why, as a volunteer, as a civil rights advocate, I have more information than the Ministry of Defense and the military unit? Is it because you receive such information or you don't receive it, or it is limited information which you can receive? The general staff is not the agency to issue permits to enter military hospitals. This is the other agency competent. The information which I had, which I received from relevant structures, the headquarters, the officers who serve in that brigade in Semipolki, and from officers who conducted inspection of the facts which you voiced out, you can get comments. It would be interesting for society to get this information, I think, because journalists' ethics matter. Listening to two parties of the conflict, still we hear only one part. Side. The second side we heard already when the cases have been closed, when you see today what is happening to the corpse. And I don't know the position of military prosecutor's office. And what about some military prosecutor's office position? What to do with those top officials who tried to enter into conspiracy, or all of you are in comparison? Let's not talk about one side of the conflict. The second side just closed the case after this soldier was tortured. I would like to repeat, the officers from the brigade in Semipolki, they are present here. You can talk to them and to find out details. It was the principal position, not only commander of the company, but also commander of brigade. They both were suspended from offices, and those officers who now serve and who previously served in that company and who served together with Igor Tymoschuk, they were interrogated. telephone interrogation is a synonymous survey. There were two surveys. One was an anonymous survey and one was phone survey. As concerned the findings of those surveys, of course, we are interested in objective, unbiased investigation which would establish all persons guilty in this strategy. Yes, this is important. Thank you for coming to us.